So Gandhiji was a global icon and an advocate for the most vulnerable. He was an icon for peace. His thinking today is imbued in very many aspects of the UN's functioning. Yes, peace is one aspect, non-violence is another aspect, but as we look forward, there are aspects which have not been highlighted previously but are now gaining salience. For example, sustainable development and climate concerns about the environment. Gandhiji's thinking presaged a lot of what we now are looking for in terms of our efforts to have a sustainable lifestyle. Similarly, his concern for the most vulnerable is reflected in the SDGs thinking about leaving no one behind. So there are Gandhiji's philosophy has been embedded in many ways in the UN's own orientation, and that's why there is a resonance of his thinking in the UN. It's not only in the UN. More than 100 countries have commemorated Gandhiji's 150th anniversary in 2019 in different ways. More than, I think, about 80 have in fact even issued stamps. So this global similarities in the thinking of a individual who we are grateful led our own battle or fight for independence is actually beyond India. It's a global movement that Gandhiji reflects and that the UN reflects in its work every day. So the Gandhi stamp is a culmination of years in which we have worked with the UN Postal Administration. I must compliment them because they have many unique facets. They are not very well known, but it's the only non-country and non-territorial institution that is allowed to issue stamps. It issues stamps in more than one currency. Again, it's unique. I think it issues stamps in 3 currencies, in New York in dollar terms, in Geneva in Swiss francs, and I think in Vienna in euros. So it's a unique establishment which records history, which is able to capture and promote the diversity of interests of UN members and how they coalesce with the UN's day-to-day functioning. So when we were thinking of all these, we thought we will do multiple things on the 150th anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi's birth. And one was the stamp, but we thought that the stamp should not be confined only to peace and security, because there was already a facet of that in the International Day of Nonviolence on October 2nd that we celebrate. So we looked at other facets of highlighting Gandhiji's legacy and his commonalities with the UN, and we came up with his advocacy of environment. So what we felt was that we would have an event whereby on a long-term basis, India would provide energy to the UN Secretariat and the UN conference facilities, which are environmentally friendly, which are low carbon, renewable in nature. So in 2019, we established a Gandhi Solar Park on the rooftop of the UN to ensure that it is owned by every member. There are 193 panels on that. They symbolize every UN member being participating in that continuous effort to energize the UN. That was the second element of Gandhiji. The third element was, for the first time, an Indian Prime Minister decided to host a meeting at the UN premises to commemorate another great Indian, Mahatma Gandhi. And to that, we invited the Secretary General, but we also invited very many different heads of state and government to commemorate Gandhiji's memory. So on that day, the stamp was released, the solar park came into being, and a commemorative event of prime ministers commemorating an Indian at the UN took place. These three things together were a effort at soft diplomacy, at viable diplomacy, at sustainable development, but also forward-looking diplomacy, which would have a long-term effect. And every year now, the UN conference building is powered by this solar energy from the Gandhi Solar Park. So on the one hand, the stamps reflected capturing an essence of Gandhi, and the solar park reflected a continuous tradition of support to the UN from Gandhian thinking.